Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. And this morning in studio, our special guest is Simeca Alexander Williamson. Of course, she's founder and CEO of, you've never guessed it, Cradle of Life. Interesting topic we're gonna discuss today. Simeca, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cradle of Life.
Yes.
What is that?
Cradle of Life. So that was formed around, nurturing. It was a thought about nurturing, and it's basically breastfeeding support in the form of products and services.
And we should tell the viewers, Cradle of Life is not some charity, government advisory, Ministry of Health
Not at all.
program.
Not at all.
It's a proper business.
Proper business.
You're an entrepreneur.
I am. So Cradle of Life was found out of the thought that, breastfeeding is not necessarily easy. It doesn't come as naturally as we think that it should. And I'm there to nurture the mom so that she feels that she has the support so that she can carry out her function as a mother.
You just said, and I'm sure the entire viewership disagrees with you, that breastfeeding doesn't come as naturally as we think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I thought this was a natural thing. Baby born, they get breastfed.
Of course, and a lot of people think that it's natural. So that's where, a lot of mothers tend to have the issue. So beforehand, we think that the most difficult part is delivery. Yeah. But really the most difficult part is postpartum and recovery. So a lot of moms have this baby in front of them and they think, okay, just put the baby to the breast and it will automatically happen. However, unfortunately, sometimes there are challenges. There are issues with the baby latching. The mom might have sore, cracked, bleeding nipples. There might not be enough milk supply for the baby to latch. Sometimes the baby has oral restrictions. A lot of things can happen after the baby gets here that we don't know beforehand, and sometimes they need some help, and that's where I step in.
You're making up all of
I'm not
This simple thing, baby born, mother put them on the breast, they get milk, they go to sleep.
If only if it was that straightforward, but no, it's not, unfortunately. Yeah,
but I see them all the time, baby crying, mother pick them up, put them on the breast.
And maybe you've seen them when they got over that initial stage of struggling. So a lot of this tends to happen in that first week, postpartum, and sometimes as the baby gets older, and sometimes challenges can arise when, for example, after maternity leave, the mother needs to return to work. So there are different phases that they might need help with breastfeeding support.
But what you mean by needing help, Simeca? So, all right, I can maybe buy into the milk not coming and so on. But what kind of help? How can you help them?
All right, so I'm going to try to put it into your perspective, even though you would not have had to physically breastfeed, right? If it is you buck your toe and it's bleeding, right, it's hot bad. Will you be able to put on your shoe? Will you be able to walk and feel comfortable?
Highly unlikely.
Right. So imagine that a mother wants to breastfeed, the baby has to latch onto the breast, and it is sore and cracked and bleeding, and that is where the baby has to latch their mouth. Imagine when you're sucking from a straw, how strong that suction is. The baby is suctioning on top of a painful, injured nipple. What next?
Never thought of it like that. So that's where you come in.
That's where I
How do
come
you
in.
help them?
So in a lot of cases, I just let them understand that maybe you need to adjust the positioning. Maybe we need to see what's happening with the baby's mouth. Are the lips tucked in? We need to flange them out. Is the baby latched onto the nipple as opposed to the areola? Because one big misconception is that the baby should latch onto the nipple, and that's where a lot of the issues come in. Because if the baby is latched onto the nipple, that's not where the milk is stored. It's stored in the milk ducts behind the areola. They'll be tugging and pulling on the nipple. There is no milk coming out, and then that's why there's this back and forth.
Simeca, what is actually?
Yes.
So for all our lives, and I'm sure my producer, the video, all of us know that the milk comes through the nipple.
It comes through the nipple, but it's not stored there.
Oh,
right. So
okay.
similar to a nipple bottle, there's a nipple, but if there's no milk in the bottle, and if the milk is not coming down into the front part of the nipple, then the milk won't come out. So it's the same thing with latching, same thing with hand expressing. So we want to ensure that the latch is on the nipple and the areola so it can come through the nipple. If you're tugging and pulling on the nipple, you're gonna have an issue.
So this part wasn't just for decoration. God was quite fancy. And
He is very intelligent, yes. It was made uniquely,
just for fancy
not for
stuff.
fancy. As a matter of fact, when you're pregnant and when you're breastfeeding, this part enlarges and this part gets darker so that the baby can find it easier.
And you know all of these things how?
That's an interesting question. So I actually have an international certificate in lactation. So I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. So I did a couple of hours in the hospital, clinical experience to get more intimate with breastfeeding.
International
Board
certified lactation consultant. And that's a pretty name for what? 'Cause it sounds quite fancy.
For breastfeeding specialist. When I was in the hospital, they called me the titty lady, but yes.
I like that part, yes. So
Yes.
you're the international certified titty
Titty
lady.
lady, yes.
And you therefore are able to help mothers get over this discomfort, all the complications of breastfeeding. I just said that, but I didn't even think
that there were
there
complications.
could possibly be complications.
Indeed.
And people pay for this?
They do. So, I want you to think about, so, you know, you deliver, you give birth, and many centuries ago, women used to just give birth naturally. A lot of our parents and grandparents were born at home. It happened naturally, and all we had to do was go to the hospital to get our bodies checked out. It's the same thing, you know. We have become so detached from things happening naturally that sometimes we just need some guidance to bring us back into that stage of what is natural, bring us back to being innate. And that's what I do, because sometimes it's a matter of support. They feel alone, nobody else understands what they're going through, and I'm just that voice in their head to say, you can do it, let me give you a little bit of guidance, let me hold your hand, and then they remember.
It's interesting that you spoke to that, Simeca, because we may take it for granted. But there are people who actually struggle through this period. So well, we know the difficulties of giving birth. Well, we think we know.
Indeed.
But one can imagine. And as you said at the start, for many people looking on, it seems that's the most difficult part. And yes, that's difficult. And they come out sometimes traumatized.
Right.
And then have to take on this responsibility now
Yep.
of nurturing even while they're still trying to recover from that. But that's where you're
I
able
come
to
in.
help them.
Yes, that's where I come in. You have this whole new human that you have to take care of while yourself is healing. And I come with that support. The support is the most important part of the postpartum journey.
How available is this kind of consultancy, this kind of help for people? Is it widely known that, you know, they can get this kind of help?
Well, what I will say is that in the United States, they actually have lactation consultants in the hospital.
Okay.
So once the baby is born, you actually have someone that's able to assist you to make sure that the latch is right. If you're having any issues, to assist you. Here in Jamaica, we only have 2 board-certified lactation consultants. So my preceptor, who is the person that inspired me to get into this field, and myself, just 2 of us.
Because that was the next question. What could possibly have troubled you?
What troubled me, I had 2 kids of my own. I was pregnant with my son when I was doing my internship at the Ministry of Health, and I met her again, and I was involved in breastfeeding week activities, and when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, interesting. And then when I had him, implemented all of the things that I learned, and I was like, wow, everybody needs to have this knowledge.
And it is often said that the breast is best, and breastfeeding is critically important and makes a difference to the, you know, how children grow up or they react and so on. Is that really true? And from your field, have you seen it even more important now as you go helping persons?
So, okay, breast milk in and of itself is a very unique makeup. So it's perfect for the baby in the right temperature, portion, nutrients, constituency, everything. It's the perfect food for the baby. And the baby really doesn't need anything except breast milk for the first 6 months of their lives. And the process of breastfeeding is healing for both the mom and the baby. So mommy benefits from breastfeeding as in her womb and uterus come back to the pre-pregnancy state, bleeding stops sooner. It's also protective in the fact that you are less likely to get breast cancer and ovarian cancer, hypertension, diabetes.
Really?
Yes, it is very neuroprotective because of, you know, just your hormones and what your body responds to, and also for the baby in terms of they tend to be more intelligent, they tend to get less sick. So breast milk and breastfeeding have tons
You
of
said
benefits.
they're more intelligent.
Tend
So
to be.
that means I was breastfeeding.
I don't doubt it.
We've been talking with Simeca Alexander Williamson. Of course, she's a CEO of Craddle of Life, a company set up to help mothers understand all there is to know about the importance of breastfeeding and give support to them while they're at it. Of course, we'll have a second part of this interview. Please join us then. As we say all the time, we give you information, of course this time, to make better family decisions. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9, another wonderful program lined up for you.